The goal is not to be chasing these leads. It's to be leading these leads through your system, through your funnel, through your process. Welcome back to the Modern Craftsman podcast. Today is all about clients ghosting you, chasing clients, and some rules for following up with those clients so that you don't look like such a maniac. Thanks everyone for hopping on and listening to this podcast. Nick and I recently just launched a Modern Craftsman Circle community. If you are interested in that, hop on our Instagram profile. The link should be in that profile. You also can DM us if we mention it on any stories, and we will get you all the information that you need. You can email us hello@moderncraftsman.co, or better yet, sign up for the newsletter, and you will find a link in every email that will connect you to that circle community, where it's an open forum. You can ask whatever questions you like. It is a vetted platform with contractors just like you, me, Nick, all the other people that you know in this Modern Craftsman community, where you can just help yourself, you can help others, you have direct access to me and Nick. So the best way, again, sign up for that newsletter, check it out, see what it's all about. Let us know if you have any questions. I also want to thank our sponsors here. We have Harnish Workwear. I know that we have spoken about their creator pant a ton. Their t-shirts a ton. We're coming into spring now. If you need new company t-shirts for this spring and summer, hit them up for their H label. Alex will help you get your shirts branded, find whatever you want them to be printed on, figure out the styling, the colors, the sizing, quantities. They can mix and match. Again, if you want to rebrand, they'll be able to help you there. So check out Harnish Workwear and get yourself all outfitted and ready to go for spring and summer. Nobody wants to show up to a job site with last year's shirt looking raggedy and unprofessional. Hop on there, get yourself some new gear, have your company looking professional and fit and ready to go for summer. Harnish Workwear. I want to also thank Andersen Windows. We have an exciting partnership with them. Thank you for all the years of sponsorship, all the years of support, the years of support on my personal build, on Nick's build. Just a really great company to work with. I was just having a conversation with somebody last week about how great of a job Andersen does with sourcing parts for older windows and older doors. They have a catalog which you can access parts for doors and windows that were made a very long time ago. So the serviceability and the maintainability of these investments is really great. You can typically access parts and pieces through diagrams or through help internally through Andersen, so that if your window's 20 years old and somebody tells you it needs to be replaced because it needs a new part or it needs a new balancer, that's probably not the case. Reach out to Andersen. They will help get you set up with the parts that you need to fix that window, fix that door. I've done it for clients on jobs where it wasn't even my door that we installed. Just being in and out of the house and realizing this Andersen door is not functioning the way that it needs to. It needs this new part, and sometimes I'll surprise them with a freebie where I fix something on that door that has been a nuisance for a very long time for them for free, and I look like a hero because of Andersen. So if you have an old window, an old Andersen door, hook up with the local rep. They will tell you what you need to do to get those parts and pieces ordered, and you can be the hero on your job thanks to Andersen. So if you're getting ghosted by clients repeatedly, I'm here to tell you it's probably not bad clients. It is an unclear process. It's time to look inward. It's time to realize that you are more than likely the problem. We could sit back and we can say, well, if this were different, I wish I had better leads. I wish I had a better funnel. Ultimately, there are a handful of reasons why people are ghosting you. And while some people may just be jerks, it's more than likely your problem, not their problem. So let's dig into the reasons people are ghosting you, why you shouldn't be chasing people, and some rules and some helpful tips to follow up and create a process that brings people and walks them through your process rather than giving them an open door to walk out. So if you feel that you are constantly chasing clients, it is not a people problem. Can't blame the clients any longer. You can't blame the leads. You can't blame your SEO. You must look inward. This is a you problem. This is a process problem. So how many of you guys and girls have sent an estimate out and you literally get no response? That's my favorite. I always love that, where especially back in the day, I would go and meet with someone. I would get them an estimate. I'd type up a scope of work, all of my ideas. Maybe I'd give them some design inspiration or some design ideas, and then they would ghost me. Not a thank you, thanks for coming out, nothing. I mean, I just had this happen not that long ago from a referral in town. Back and forth a couple of times, some ideas, really protecting myself that I didn't throw anything out there as far as, hey, they could just use this and go elsewhere. But I had never worked for this person before and got them some budgeting, literally ghosted me. Followed up, hey, just want to make sure, no issues if you don't want to go ahead with this, but I'd like to close the door on it if that's the case. No response. Multiple emails, no response. I would go as far as to say ignorant, but ultimately it's my problem. It was my system. I strayed from my rules and it came back to bite me. I should have known better. Let my guard down for a minute, but that happens. How many times have you guys and girls had a really great call, met with a client, and they just disappear, right? You had this great feeling about it. You really connected. Your mind starts rolling. You get excited about the job and how it's going to be such a great opportunity and what designer you're going to use and the details and the materials, and then nothing, disappears. Again, can be ignorant, can be frustrating, can be rude, inconsiderate, but ultimately you left the door open and there's nobody to blame but yourself. How about sending out some information, coordinating, corresponding with clients for them to say, hey, need a couple of weeks to think about this and we will circle back? That's usually a no. I had that happen with an existing customer recently. Timeline wasn't there. We'll get back to you. Not too worried about it, not hungry for work, and finally 6 weeks later followed up and it was the whole, hey, we have this going on, we have that going on, we need a little bit more time to figure out our finances, this, that, and the other thing. At that point I knew I left the door open, and my fault. I didn't really force the issue. I wasn't too concerned about losing it, but ultimately I left the door open, whether it was somewhat intentional or not, and I didn't close the job. So again, a me problem, a process problem, a system problem, and ultimately my fault. So you want to prevent this from happening. Ultimately, it's going to come down to control the situation, control the process, control of your entire system, and not necessarily about persuasion. For years, I tried to persuade customers that this was the right choice. This is what you want to do. You want to go with me. This isn't the right choice. You don't want to hire this guy. I was hungry for work. I needed the money. I was forcing a square peg into a round hole, and I was essentially, in hindsight, begging for work. I was trying to coerce and persuade these clients that my way was the best way, that this is what they wanted. And even if I landed the job, I had convinced these clients that this is what they wanted when they didn't actually want it, so it didn't seem to be a successful project, because at the end of the day, they were fine with it just being fine. And I tried to convince them that they weren't, and it cost me money, it cost me time, and it cost them time and money for something that they just truly didn't value. So we don't want to persuade clients, we don't want to coerce clients, we want to control the situation. We want to control our process. We want to control the interactions and how we are leading our clients down this path, through this funnel, without coercion or persuasion. So why did these clients ghost you? Again, either no response to an email, pricing, ideas, you had this amazing exchange and interaction, then they just disappear, or hey, we're going to need some time to think about this. Why does that happen? One major issue is you do not have a clear next step. You meet with somebody, hey, I'll touch base next week, or yeah, I'll send something over. What does that mean? If this client, especially it's one of their first times renovating, it's their first house that they're building, it's their first time working with you, what does that mean? I want more specifics than that. I want to know how long should I have to wait? What will you provide me after I am done waiting? What's the next step after that? If we want to proceed, if we don't want to proceed, I need to answer all of those questions. I cannot be as vague as, hey, I'll just send something over next week, because the client has no idea what happens next. They don't understand the process, and maybe somebody else was more clear and more explicit, and they disengage with you and they engage with somebody else. Another reason, no timeline. If there's no urgency on your behalf, if there's no scarcity on your behalf, there's more than likely no action. You and your client are operating on different programs. You are operating on different clocks, and you are not aligned. So make sure that you are clear with the timeline, when they can anticipate an answer from you, what that answer will include, what it will involve, and then if you decide to proceed, what's the next step and what's the timeline associated with that. Another issue is there's no defined decision point. So the clients they don't understand when they need to make a decision, what your schedule looks like, what your availability looks like, what happens if they don't make a decision. Are you just waiting around for them? If I go and I meet with a client and I say, hey, I'll have an estimate to you next week. It'll include a line item budget, it'll include a proposed scope, and it will include the next steps to sign a contract. And I don't say, hey, I will at that point need a decision within 10 days as to whether you want to take the next step and proceed with the job, or we're going to part ways. If I don't tell them that 10 days by the time I need a final decision to take the next step, then that's on me. They might not understand what my schedule looks like, how I work. Not everyone has the 10-day rule. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's, hey, if you want to work together, we need to know within the next 48, 72 hours. It's 30 days, whatever it is. If they don't understand when they need to make a decision, maybe they're just getting started in this process and you're the first person they talk to, and it's going to take them 6 months before they decide. If you would have known that and you needed a job on your plate, would you have gone and met with them? Would you have gone on this estimate? Maybe, maybe not. So you need to make sure that you define the next step and define the timeline and when those decisions need to be made. And if they aren't made, what happens next? Another thing that I'm more than notorious for doing, you're giving away too much up front. Free advice, free estimates, free thinking. There's no urgency here. There's no scarcity. They can just come and go as they please. You have an open door policy to pick your brain and get all the answers they need. What's the urgency? What's the scarcity? They have access to you. That's all they know. They want to make sure that they have access to you before, during, after the job. You prove that, so they don't need anything else. They got what they needed. They don't really have to respond at this point. And I think of this as, if I had something that was on my mind and I was thinking of getting an operation done, or maybe I was feeling a certain way and I wasn't sure, and I could reach out to my doctor and I could get those answers that I needed and that I wanted without making a visit to their office, just via email or text, or a quick phone call for 10, 15 minutes. If I could get those answers that I needed without scheduling an appointment, showing up to the appointment, and then paying for the appointment, what would you do? You probably just hop on a quick phone call, 10, 15 minutes, or a Zoom call, or a text message, or an email, and you'd get the answers that you needed, and you'd never follow up with that appointment. You wouldn't know how to proceed. Are you wrong for doing that? Are you wrong at that point for taking advantage of the doctor? Not really, because they're giving you all of that information. If the doctor said, hey, sorry to hear that you're feeling that, I need you to call the office, here's my availability, you have to book something within 3 days, and then we'll get you into the office within a week. If that's no good, that's fine. Just let the office know that you don't need the appointment. You need that doctor at that point, right? You don't have the answers that you need, so you have to go through their system. You have to go through their process. They're going to make the money that they need. They're going to preserve their time. They created clear boundaries. For some reason, we just don't do that in residential construction. So this ghosting is often the result of us completing our side of that transaction before our clients have completed their side of the transaction. These jobs come in, these leads come in, these clients wind up in our inbox, or a phone call to us, and we end up like we're off to the races. We are chasing this lead. My podcast partner, who is not on the podcast today, I bust the stones about this all the time, where something shiny goes by and Nick's off to the races, and he already has this job signed and knows what architect he's going to use and what details and how cool this is going to be, and he is chasing this job at 100 miles an hour. I would like to say I'm probably the opposite. I'm running away from the job until they reel me back in. The goal is not to be chasing these leads. It's to be leading these leads through your system, through your funnel, through your process. When you're following up with these clients, it's not just to check in. Hey, I know we spoke last week, just checking in. You need to guide their process. You need to be the professional. You need to have the system, the process to lead them through it. It's not just checking in, right? You're not asking a girl to go on a date. You're not asking someone to go out for ice cream. You are leading somebody through a work funnel as a professional. Hey, I just wanted to follow up. Should be, hey, we spoke last week, just so we're on the same page. The next step is X, Y, and Z, or the next steps are X, Y, and Z. Every interaction should begin and end with a defined next step. So some examples of this may be, I'll send you over the proposal by Friday and we can review it next Monday. Here are my available times. Please let me know when you want to hop on a call. I told them when they'd have the proposal. I told them that we need to review it, and I told them that it has to happen on Monday, and I gave them my availability. After you review this, we'll either move into pre-con, or at that point we can elect to part ways. So I told them that I need to review it. If they want to move forward, the next step is pre-construction. If they don't want to move forward, we have to part ways. Shit or get off the pot. Those are the two options. There's no in between. There's no another meeting. There's no, hey, let's do the song and dance a little bit more. Hey, can we reprice this, that, the other thing? No. You have two choices. This is all my time allows. This is my process. You're going to pick A or B, and that's going to dictate the next step. I have to admit, if my potential partners that I work with had these processes in place when I was doing more subcontractor work for bigger contractors, if they had processes in place like this for these engagements, these interactions with me, I would have been more diligent in responding and moving forward. If I had I used to do work for this plumber who would land bathroom jobs and kitchen jobs and then subcontract all the carpentry out to me. I know that's backwards. I just started in business, but that's the way that he operated. And he would ask me for a job or ask me for a price on the job. There wasn't much more than, hey, I need a price on this job. Can you come take a look at it? Let me know when it works. If that would have been the first exchange, and then he would have said, I need that price and this scope of work by this date, or else I'm going to use a different contractor, that would have held me accountable. I would have gotten him that information. It's the same thing with partners on social media or companies that I work with. Hey, we sent you over a contract. If you could please review that by no later than this date, we can proceed at that point. They're giving me a defined next step. If people would do this within our business, you're going to progress a lot more cleanly and a lot more efficiently. I know I would for myself. What's the system for the follow-up that I've developed? Always schedule the follow-up before you leave or during your current exchange. Never send out an estimate without a scheduled review. Never send out a meeting. Never end a meeting without, hey, meeting went great. I'd like to schedule a follow-up appointment on this date to review the next step. If I have a Zoom call with somebody, an architect, a designer, somebody who wants to collaborate, and we have the Zoom call and it goes great, and then this is what I think is going to happen, and I get off that phone call and I don't know when they need my answers by, I don't know when they need my selections by, I don't know when they need numbers by, I'm just going to kind of roll with it and see what happens. If the exchange is, hey, wrapping up this call, I want to give you the next 3-4 days to review this, and I'd like to schedule a follow-up call for the upcoming Monday at 10 a.m. If that time doesn't work, let's figure another time that works for Monday. That means that I have 4 days of work week to get the answers to them. I know the next step. It's very clear. It's very concise. I will be punctual and deliberate with my response. So never send something without a scheduled review of it. It could be an estimate. It could be a proposal, a contract. Hey, sending the contract. Hey, sending the pre-construction agreement along. Please review this. I'd like to hop on a call with you Friday. between 12 and 4 p.m., let me know what time works for you. That will dictate the next step. That's what you should be doing. Rule number 2, use closing loops. So every step has a deliverable, a review, and a decision, right? Everything that I send somebody, what's the deliverable? What do I need from you? When do I need a review? What's the review look like? What are the answers that I'm looking to receive from you? Be explicit with these. What's the decision? When did the decision need to be made? So think about this. Every time that you're sending somebody out, make sure that there are closing loops, that nothing is open-ended. What are the deliverables? What do I expect from you? What do I anticipate? When do I anticipate them? What I need you to review? What questions you may have had? What questions I need answered, and then what I need as far as decisions go. Is it a check? Is it a deposit? Do I need a contract signed? Do I need the next steps? Make sure that you are accounting for all of those things. Rule number 3, set those expectations up front. If I don't hear back by this date, I'll assume the timing isn't right, and that's okay. If I have a client who wants to work with me, or doesn't want to work with me, or is on the fence, I am giving them a date to back into. If they want to work with me, they're going to make that date work. If they let the date pass by or they don't get me an answer, they did not want to work with me until something else fell through or until a better option didn't show up. So if you give somebody 10 days, you give them 20 days, 30 days, 3 days, it doesn't matter. But you need to back into a timeline. You need to set the expectation of when you need a decision made. If somebody gives me 10 days or 2 days, I probably only need the 2 days. I'm going to make a decision when I make that decision. But if you give me 10 days, I just have a lot more time to line something else up or get another price or see if something just by chance happens on my desk that's a better fit. I'm not really making that decision based on what you're offering as much as what others are offering. So if I want somebody to make a decision based on my offerings, I need to give them a date and set a proper expectation. Rule number 4, have a defined cadence. So what's your cadence? What's your SOP? Does your team know this? Does your back end know this? First exchange, send the proposal, schedule a review. Day 2, maybe you follow up a couple days later with a reminder. Hey, just a heads up, don't forget we have the review scheduled at this point. Day 5, close that loop, have your review, schedule the review, ensure that they understand what the next step is, right? We made the review, we decide how we want to move ahead. It's either option A or option B. Close that loop at that meeting. We are now done with the pre-construction. We're ready to go to contracting and move ahead with this job. Now we're leaving that behind us and we're going down this path. Make sure that you close the loop and then move on. Again, following up is not chasing. We are leading our clients and we are closing those loops. So let's go through just some ideas, some scripting with you guys and girls. What you can be saying, what you can be doing, how this exchange can look with clients. You want this to fit your tone of voice. Again, tone's really important. You want it to fit into your system. You want the timeline to make sure that you can execute on these timelines too, right? If you're really busy, you don't want to tell somebody I need a decision within 2 days if you won't be able to get to it for a week. So understand what your typical turnaround looks like and how to implement this into your business so that it's not creating stress or pressure for you. If I send an email out to somebody or I send a pre-construction, say that we met with this person, they understand the business, they're good to go, I'm going to send them a pre-construction. So rather than just said, hey, here's a pre-construction, everything's attached, please review it, sign off, and send it back. I gave them a lot. I gave them most of the steps, but I did not back them into making a decision within a certain amount of time. What I could say is, hey, I just sent over the pre-construction. Let's plan to connect this Thursday at 2 to go through it. So at that point, I'm going to get a decision by them at Thursday at 2. Maybe they sign off on it before then. Maybe there's a couple of things that I have questions on, and I can back myself into that date to make sure that I get an answer with them face-to-face at 2. I can hold them accountable. I can hold them to be punctual, and I can make sure that there is no lack of communication and there is a consistent, clear, deliberate plan in place. At that point, hey, we answered all your questions. At this point now, there's really not much else to do. If you want to move ahead, I'll need that signed contract by the end of the week. If not, we'll go our separate ways. I appreciate your time. Just let me know. I have other things on my plate. I'm ready to sign up other jobs. So I just want to know if this is a go for you or this is not. If you could let me know by Monday. If I don't hear anything, I'll assume that that's my answer. You can say that in a very polite, a very compassionate manner. Word it how you see fit. This is your process. This is your system. You are professional. These are what your needs are. And this is the timeline that you need things done. They need to understand that you're leading them through this process. You're not chasing them and you are not following their lead. This is your job. This is your company. This is your process. You're the professional. You know how to execute this. If they don't follow up, if you don't get an email back from them, if they don't confirm the meeting, you can follow up politely. Hey, looks like we missed each other. No worries. I know things can be busy. Let me know if you want to reschedule that or if the timing just isn't right now, right? So at this point, I'm going to give them one shot. They missed out on this. I have a feeling that they're ghosting me, that this probably isn't a fit. Again, I'm going to follow up at this point. Maybe by chance they missed the first email or it was a lapse of judgment or something happened. They missed it. There was an emergency in their life. I'm going to follow up and again, firmly remind them, if you want to reschedule, great, let's do it ASAP. If not, if the timing isn't right, I understand. Let's go our separate ways. If at that point you still have not heard back, it's time to cut the leash. It's time to cut the cord. Spend your time, your money, your resources on something else. So at this point, it's, hey, I haven't heard back, so I'll assume that this is not a fit right now. Happy to reconnect down the line. That's up to your discretion whether you want to reconnect or not down the line. At this point, I'm probably writing this client off as a good fit. Maybe something happened. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe they had to leave the country. Maybe, something happened. Their email got hacked. Whatever it is, I do not want to be a jerk at this point. I do not want to be passive aggressive. I do not want to be rude, inconsiderate. I want to be professional and leave the door open in case there's a viable reason for this happening. But for the most point, I am moving along from this job and I'm going to spend my time and my resources leading another better fit client through my process, through my funnel, rather than chasing this client who's ghosting me. Again, this is confident, it's deliberate, it is to the point, concise, crisp, and it is not aggressive. It's not rude. You are maintaining your level of professionalism. So what's the big picture here with this podcast? And I recorded a midweek this week with a similar topic. So definitely give that a listen as well with regard to tone and clients ghosting you and how to protect your time and set boundaries. So the midweek is on how you're setting boundaries and maintaining this level of professionalism and setting yourself up for these interactions without sounding like a jerk. So definitely give that one a listen as well. It's going to go hand in hand with this podcast. A lot of times we think that ghosting is not feedback, right? If we get ghosted, we're not getting any feedback. We are getting feedback. It is a very clear indicator of issues within our business. Now, we may not be getting feedback that's as specific as we want, but we're getting feedback. We're getting feedback that our process is unclear, that we are not establishing proper value, or that our marketing and our funnel is attracting misaligned clients. So that's really, really valuable feedback. That's valuable feedback in many ways for you and your business. And you have to assess, why is this happening? You have to assess, how do I prevent this from happening? You have to assess, how am I providing better value to my clients that ghosting is not an option? What does my process look like to ensure that I'm keeping and maintaining a high level of engagement with these leads? Am I being specific enough? Am I being explicit enough? Am I giving them a clear path forward? Am I requiring certain demands of them? Is there a timeline allocated to this process? Am I being firm and deliberate with when I need answers? What cannot be left untied? And at that point, what's the next step? I think we all, I can speak for myself, need to do a better job of that. I don't always do that. If you consider your process the same way that you interact with anyone in your life, I spoke about this on the other podcast too, when you're dealing with your children. One of my dad jokes that I tell all the time is that it's from my sophomore year in high school. He He was actually my middle school wrestling coach, and my English teacher sophomore year in high school, Mr. Thompson, told me that his favorite city was specificity. And as a 16-year-old, laughing at him that's one of the lamest, corniest jokes. But at this point now, I tell people that all the time. The more specific you can be with your clients, with your processes, with your business, with my children, with my wife, with myself, the better you're going to be. If your process is clear in any way, shape, or form, it leaves the door open for people to not make decisions, for them to lead the conversation, or for them to completely back out. And that lack of specificity can be with regard to timeline, to what you need, to what the level of expectation is, to what the next steps are. You have to spell that out for everyone. You have to dumb it down that your process is, first thing, I'm going to do this. At that point, once I provide you with that, you'll have 7 days to make a decision whether you want to do this or that. If you decide to do this, this is what the next step is, and that meeting will be scheduled within 7 days. If you choose to not do that, at that point, we'll go our separate ways. What's the next step once you decide to sign up for pre-con? Within how many days can you expect that contract? Within how many days do I need that signed off on? How much of a deposit is necessary? What are the specifics of that? How long can they expect that process to take? What happens if they go over budget? Who's going to be involved? When will the meetings take place? When do you need answers? If I'm sending people meeting updates, how long do they have before I need to schedule that meeting? Do they have 3 days to make sure it's on their calendar? You need to be as specific as possible. And it seems like a lot, but when you break it down to each interaction with these clients, just do what you're doing now and document it. Document every interaction and realize that when you just responded to that client and said, hey, I want to come look at your place, what days work for you? That's leaving the door open for them to say, I read that email, but I don't really know yet. I'm going to mark it as unread. What if you say, hey, the next step is for me to come visit your house. I can be over Tuesday or Thursday of this week between 12 and 3 p.m. If that doesn't work for you, let me know within the next 48 hours and we'll figure out another date. At that point, you're backing them into a time. If they don't get back to you, you have a reason to go elsewhere, to spend your time elsewhere. You are being specific, you are being explicit, and you are requiring a lot of them. It shouldn't be as overwhelming as it seems. Every email that you send, make sure that you are being specific, you're being explicit, and you're telling them what your needs are, what their timeline is, what the expectation is, and what happens if they choose either decision. You can implement that into every interaction that you have with people in life and business, and you're going to be far more productive and far more efficient. So I hope that you guys and girls realize how much value there is in just taking that little extra work and setting yourself up. You're already doing all of this. You just need to be clearer with your demands. You need to close the door every opportunity. And closing the door can be closing the door to keep them in, or closing the door for them to walk out. They're gone, I'm closing it behind you. Or it can be closing the door for them to sit down and continue the conversation. But you can't just leave that door open. It cannot be a revolving door, in and out as you see fit, when you see fit. That's not how it works. If that's the case, you're going to drive yourself nuts. Make sure that you are deliberate with these things. The goal is not to try and get everyone to respond. The goal is to make it very clear who should and when you need that response by. And that should help you with your systems.